Detroit Show. Coming to you every Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock on WJZZ Cool TV. Also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Dr. John Telford is a former Detroit Public School superintendent, a former world-class athlete, conqueror of Olympic champions, a championship track coach, poet, newspaper columnist, a longtime civil rights crusader, and author of 7 books. Creative Insubordination, What Old Men Know, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, The Poet Emperor of Earth, and his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run. Plus, another upcoming poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. His books are available on Amazon.com or by calling 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. Telford has been called a legend and also a lightning rod for controversy, a recipient of the City Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year, and a Detroit track is named for him. His email is drjohnttelford@AOL.com. That's Dr.JohnTelford@AOL.com. Dr. Telford also has a show on WCHB AM 1340 that airs on Saturdays at 9:30 in the morning and Mondays at 6:30 in the evening. That's on WCHB AM 1340, Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and Mondays at 6:30 p.m. And now, without further ado, I present to you that old native Detroiter, the one and only Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Charlotte Jones, a.k.a. Char J., author of an erotic adult alphabet book entitled A Ain't Always for Apple. A Ain't Always for Apple.
Thank you.
My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here, only the old color of a new sky. And there's a new sky dawning on Detroit today because we've got Mark Blank Sr. in the studio today. Mark Blank Sr., that proprietor of Sinbad's restaurant on East Jefferson on the Detroit River in Detroit, on Detroit's east side, and it is Detroit's best restaurant. So, Mark, I want to welcome you to the John Telford Show today.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Charlotte.
And
Glad to be here.
And we're so happy to have you, particularly because we missed you a couple of months ago.
Yes.
When was it? Yeah, we didn't interview you then, but we're going to interview you now. We got some questions to ask you. First, I have to make just a couple of statements. One which I better not forget, so I'm going to do this one first. Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, and I've had her over to Sinbad several times. You've had her. Proprietress of V's Boutique offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies.
She does.
Yeah, and Char will attest to that. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere in the city of Detroit anymore. And V's is at 16423 East Warren Avenue. 16423 East Warren Avenue, right next to the Alger Theater, right around the corner from the Alger Theater, and next to one of the few libraries that's still open. But you know, I was at the school board meeting last night, and Russ Ballant said that they're going to open a whole bunch more. So I'm really glad to learn that is happening. So we're going to have more libraries because we have a real literacy problem in the city of Detroit, and we don't need to be closing any of those libraries. Okay, Mark Blank Sr., Mark Blank. Mark, let's get ready and talk about what's going on over at Sinbad. Well, you know what? First, tell us how Sinbad's restaurant was founded, how it began, how that restaurant got started up.
Well, that goes way back to early 1949.
Whoa.
And
I was 13 years old.
so my father and my uncle got together. They were brother-in-laws.
Oh, okay.
And my uncle Van, what we called him Van, his name was Hilaire Van Hollenbeck. And my dad was Prudent Blanke. So that's the names.
How do you spell it?
Blancké.
Blancké.
Correct.
Okay.
And so my dad was working, I think, out in California at the time, but he came home, and my uncle was working, I think he was working for Hiram Walker.
Okay.
And he found this little place, and I think they believe that the name of it was called Dirty Gertie's. So that was
really?
So it was a very small little building.
Yeah.
And then he got to my father and asked, let's partner together and start a restaurant. So my grandfather Blanky lent them each the same amount of money to get started, and then there was a movie called Sinbad the Sailor.
Oh yeah, Douglas
Yeah.
Fairbanks Jr.
Right now,
Yeah, I remember that
Sparkling.
movie. Yeah.
the story I hear is that the movie was spelled Sinbads.
Right.
Well, the reason that was the book, whoever was the writer, I don't know, but it was spelled Sindbads.
Yeah.
So it was Sinbad. From,
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Sinbad was a sailor from Oman, and he also had he explored the Mediterranean area.
Right.
So this is a true story. So
Yes.
but I'm sure his stories are like all fish stories. They kind of change a little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Right.
So they decided to name it Sinbad's
Yeah, neat.
after the famous sailor.
Yeah.
So that's
There's
how
a comedian by that name.
Yes,
too.
but he spells it wrong. I did. He was at Sinbad's once, and I did mention that to him. But whatever. That's fine.
He's from Michigan.
Any way you spell it, as long as you come down to Sinbad, it's okay with me. So they started the restaurant in '49, and they worked together for quite a while. And little by little, the restaurant would grow. It was just one room and a bar and a small kitchen. And then they had an outdoor patio. Then they covered the patio. And then after a while, then they added what we called the new room, which was off to the east side of the building. And then a little more office space, a little more kitchen space. And then they also pushed out a wall to the west side. And then they actually, when I got there, we put new windows in and expanded towards the river a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
So it went through a bunch of different phases.
Yeah.
And let's see, my father, unfortunately, in '84, I lost my father to a brain tumor, and he was only 59 at the time.
Oh boy.
And then my uncle, he was 70 the next year. So in 1985, he asked me to purchase his shares.
Yeah.
So back in May of '85 is when I took over as president of the company and been running it ever since.
Okay.
Along with, I don't want to forget my brother Brian, who passed away about 2.5 years ago. And I still have my sister Denise and my sister Linda, and now I also have my son Mark Anthony is there with us.
Yeah, it was Mark that I first invited.
Yes.
To come on, and but he's in Cancun now, as I understand.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on their way back today.
Are they? Okay. Well, we miss Mark, but
Yeah.
I'll see him over at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I met your wife too.
Yes, I met Trina.
Trina. Yeah. She's a good PR person for you.
She's great. We've
Yeah.
been married going on 37 years in October.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
I envy anyone who can do it that long. I've been married 3 times, and of course I lost my third wife, just the day after the invasion of the Capitol. And,
So you guys have been around over 70 years, right?
So, yeah, we're on our 73rd year about, and everything kind of the menu at Sinbad's was kind of built by our customers, because I'm not sure exactly all what was on the menu, but I'm sure there was burgers and some fish, and then little by little people would ask for certain things like crab legs or frog legs, or little by little they would ask, and then my dad and my uncle would add it.
Right.
So so that menu was built by customer requests.
So is this something that were you just thrust into the restaurant business, or were
Well,
you?
not really. Actually, I played baseball and I played hockey, and I kept busy when I was in high school, and I worked at a place called Gray Sports Shop. So I was in a sports shop working while I was in school.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Grosse Pointe South.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to school at Western Michigan, and I was playing baseball for a
Were
little
you?
while.
Okay.
Then they wanted to turn me into a pitcher, and it didn't work so good.
I
So
loved baseball.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
they
did
never
too.
let me play it in high school because I timed me for 40 yards and that was it. They had to run track. But
So when I was in college, and I decided, well, maybe it's best that they would like me to be at Sinbad. So I wanted to finish my college education. So I worked at Hilton Hotel in Kalamazoo, and my dad and my uncle also owned the St. Clair Inn at the time.
oh,
So in the summertime, I'd work at the St. Clair Inn, and at school, I'd be at the Hilton Hotel bartending. So I tried to get some experience being an employee, and then I graduated with a management degree, and finished in 1980, and been there ever since.
from Western Michigan.
Western Michigan.
Yeah. Used to run against those guys a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I was Wayne State.
Yeah.
But and I love your scallops. I love those scallops.
Yeah.
Scallops and oysters are my favorite.
Yeah, and those scallops we buy, really, if you're looking for a scallop,
Yeah.
you want to make sure they're unsoaked and natural.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you get them in a store and they're frozen, and
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of times they're soaked. And if they're soaked in salt water, when you try to cook them,
Ah,
they won't caramelize.
okay.
But if you get a good natural scallop, which I do, and you throw it in a pan, it'll caramelize brown, and then you'll know that it's a good one. And we buy them from Foley's out of Boston,
Okay.
and we've been dealing with them for many years. And pretty well, that's the only place I normally get them
Yeah.
is from Foley's out.
Because a lot of places
Yeah.
add sodium tripolyphosphate to their seafood to give it that plumping and salt, and you're
Mhm.
right, that's not
Yeah.
it's not good for the
Mm-hmm.
food. So
Yeah.
I
I'm
love
glad
the
you-
escargot
glad
you
like
got
it.
there too. The
Yeah.
escargot, you have it in
Yeah.
that little steel pan, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah,
and
with
the-
a little
and
garlic butter.
and the bread, you
Yeah.
know, the cracker bread, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
then I
Little
dip,
toast points.
yeah, and I dip them in there.
Yep. I
They're
do
really
that too.
good. I like that. Do you? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of food, is what I like.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm lucky. I can eat pretty well whatever I want any day.
I usually have them with a couple of good Guinness
Yeah.
drafts of
Yeah.
Guinness.
Yeah.
And I like the hummers you guys make. But
yeah, those are delicious.
I had to say, put a little more ice cream in there. So,
Yeah.
so they do a kind of a special hummer
Yeah.
when I
Like,
come. A
You
little
guys
more ice
won
cream.
some
Good.
type of award or something for those hummers. It was something like that
Ye-
some years ago.
I think that really was from Bayview, and Jerome from Bayview is one. He invented the Hummer, and then we kind of took it from there, and then we were back in the beginning. We were scooping hard ice cream, and going through.
Tell everybody what a
blenders.
hummer is.
A Hummer is an ice cream drink with rum and Kahlua,
Yeah.
right? So you blend it, and so we were going through so many blenders and stuff, and we bought a soft serve ice cream machine, which really helped because soft serve, you add it, do
Oh,
a
yeah.
quick little blend, and out they go.
Mhm.
But now we sell a lot of Hummers and a couple other versions of it.
But you sold me a lot of them.
Yeah, great.
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. We also have a jazz concert coming up one night in Detroit, July 9th. That's a Saturday at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center, 15801 Michigan Avenue. Tickets are available at Eventbrite. It starts at 8 and the doors open at 7:30, featuring Paul Taylor and Jeff Kashiwa. Also, we have a Senior Expo and Health Fair, which is a free event. Wellness Rocks, Saturday, August 27th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Ernest T. Ford Recreation Center, 10 Pitkin Street in Highland Park, Michigan.
And we are interviewing Mark Blank, the proprietor of Sinbad's Restaurant, the best restaurant in Detroit. And Mark has been telling us about the history surrounding the Sinbad's name, who Sinbad's was in historical fiction and film. And Mark, I want to ask you, how did Sinbad's restaurant manage to survive the recent COVID so well? Because it seems like you guys never had a problem at all, as far as I could see.
Well, you got to credit my help.
Yeah.
We got been there many years, and they're loyal, and they were there for us. So, but we were closed twice, right? So while we were closed the first time, we did some cleaning up and renovations, put some new ceiling tiles in, and just kind of I did some work while I could, because we didn't want to be open just serving food to go. I just you put fish out and you don't sell it, and having people there. So we just when it was time to close, we just closed up, and then we did some renovating and got through that. And then what we did is we limited the menu slightly, and we put it on a placemat instead of a menu that you hold.
Okay.
And we just tried to do everything that you're supposed to do, as far as putting hand sanitizers and making sure everybody's keeping clean and wearing masks and getting through it that way. But little by little, we got through it. And, we weren't alone. Every restaurant in the city and in the country was going through the same thing in the whole world, right? So, little by little we got through.
A lot of them went out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really rough.
Yeah.
Not just for the restaurant business, but every other business too. The school business, everything has been hard because of that COVID. But your restaurant is thriving. I mean, sometimes it's hard to get in there, and that's a good thing.
Thank you.
And I wanted also to ask you another question. What are some of Sinbad's restaurants' unique and distinctive features that other restaurants maybe don't have?
Well, first of all, we're on the Detroit River.
Amen.
So, that's always nice, and we have 82 boat wells. So we have a marina. So right now I've rented a lot of boat wells to fishing boats. So that's different, and we have a cleaning station. So I think I've got about 54 fishing boats on the dock right now.
Oh, okay.
And then little by little, I have some of the season renters starting to come in, so I'm going to have to juggle that a little bit. But the fishermen, I tell you, they're gung-ho people.
Oh, tell me. Jack Ostein used to be right. I don't know if you remember Jack Ostein, but he...
Sure.
My good friend, he had a restaurant in the river house where I live.
Yeah, he kept his boat at Sinbad's.
He kept his boat at Sinbad's,
Yeah,
and man, we used to have some parties on that boat.
He was a
great.
fun-loving guy.
Yeah, he got killed in a motorcycle
I
accident,
know.
and man,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
terrible.
that was,
But Jack Ostein, I had my boat at next door. Daggone, I had
At Keene's?
Yeah, I had it at Keene's.
Yes.
I had a 44-footer, a Burns craft, and it was built in Scotland. Great boat. I ended up selling it to a Coast Guard guy. But anyway, we're getting off topic. That's okay. We can get off topic.
Well, the fishermen, what we do with them now just is a difference. We have a cleaning station, and then what we do is we'll cook their fish for them and give them a couple sides. So they really like that. Especially a lot of those fishermen are charter captains, and they have guests.
Oh yeah.
And once they come in, they clean the fish and they put it in a little bag and they bring it in and we cook it up for them.
All
and they
right.
really enjoy it. So that's something different.
All right. Do they ever bring you any to serve?
Right.
Oh yes.
Do they?
Well, we won't serve their fish only to them, right? Because that's just the way you have to do
Yeah,
it.
I guess.
But they treat me sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And my help too.
Yeah.
So if they want it, it's fine with us.
Speaking of your help, I wanted to ask you if I can find it. I got a question here. I think, usually I have you guys write questions, but I wrote the questions this time. How many staff work at Sinbad's?
Right now, I believe we're at about 55.
55. Boy, this is a
55
big
people.
operation, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Yeah.
operation.
Yeah.
You got to check this restaurant. If you've never been to Sinbad's,
You're missing
you're missing a real treat. You got to go to Sinbad's restaurant. Sinbad's restaurant. What's the address?
It's 100 St. Clair, 48214. And the email is Sinbad's, SINDBADS.com. And actually, when you're coming down Jefferson, you turn on Marquette and you head straight down Marquette.
Right. Yeah.
I
I
worked at
passed.
that
I
water
missed it a
plant.
lot of
'Cause
times. I missed it.
it's one way in Marquette.
Right,
Then
yeah.
you make a left on Frood and
Yeah.
into Sinbad's,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
when you leave Sinbad's, you're coming out St. Clair. So we're 100 St. Clair, but you can't come down St. Clair.
So you're
Yeah, you
turning
can-
at
yeah.
the water plant, because that's where I
Yes.
used to work, so I know
Yeah.
exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Are you, reservations, are they recommended?
You know, we don't take reservations.
Oh, okay.
So we're first come, first served.
Oh, okay.
And that seems to work pretty good for us because the restaurant's fairly good size, and it's casual, you know, so you can come as you are pretty well, and the tables turn over fairly good, except Mother's Day. It was a little busy on Mother's Day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, what are Sinbad's hours?
Well, we open up at 11 a.m. Right now it's 6 days a week, and we
Six days a week.
6 days a week. We're not open on Monday right now.
Well, you're open on Tuesdays.
We just opened Tuesdays.
Yeah, 'cause I remember you
4
weren't
weeks
for a
ago.
while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
4
okay.
weeks ago we finally got Tuesday back open. And to be honest, I probably don't have enough staff to go with another day yet, so we're going to keep Monday
Okay.
off for right now.
Okay.
And then what we're doing is we're seating up to 9 p.m. So we're not closing at 9 p.m., but we're trying to get everybody in and seated, and then we'll serve everybody that want to eat after 9 p.m. And then the kitchen normally is finished by 9:45, 10 o'clock. And a lot of those hard-working cooks of mine are working doubles.
Yeah.
So so that's the hours we're doing right now. We used to, back in the day when my uncle and dad were around, the kitchen was open till 1 a.m.
Oh,
7
wow.
days a week.
7 days a week till
was
1 a.m.
It was brutal.
I'll bet. I'll
It
bet
was
it
brutal.
was. Yeah. Well, kids can
Yeah.
keep that pace.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could keep it, but you were going to ask something. Go ahead.
No, I did. I just wanted to know, reservations, there are no reservations. So are you hiring? Do you need more staff? You say you're not
Yes,
looking?
we're definitely, we could use servers, bus help. I could use some more kitchen help. We're always looking for some good employees, but I have a lot of employees. I've got Cookie has been there for over 50, I'm thinking 56 years.
Wow.
So, and her mother was our original head waitress, and that was June. So you had June back with my dad, my uncle back in the early 50s. Then I have Cookie and her sister Denise, and her brother Danny is our bus driver. So the Kuhn family has been with Sinbad's since really by the beginning. Back, I would think June started probably in 50 or 51.
So the bus driver, he's taking them to events? and
Yeah,
whatnot?
well,
Okay.
yeah.
Take them to ball games and
To
stuff like that.
ball games, Red Wings,
Oh yeah.
Lions,
Yeah.
and special events. Back, the big events that might be at Comerica Park or at Ford Field.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'll do some of that.
Let's hope the Tigers start winning a little
Oh,
more.
no
you know.
kidding! I was hopeful.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have to be a little more hopeful.
And I have lived or died with the Lions for so many years. I keep hoping and hoping and hoping.
Yeah.
Now we lost a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Goes out and quarterbacks the Rams.
Yes.
Takes them to the Super Bowl. Unreal, man.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, how do they? If someone wants to come and work, what phone number do they call? How do they contact you?
313-822-8000. And normally what we do is we try to do interviews in the afternoon between 2 and 4. So at a
Okay.
slow, and then, again, anytime from Tuesday through Friday is probably the best times to come in for that.
Tuesday through Friday, 312-8000. 313-312.
313-822.
Oh, 822. Okay.
8,000.
I screwed it up. Say it again.
313-822-8000 is the phone number.
Okay, 313-822-8000 between Tuesday and Friday, because Sinbad's is hiring, folks. They're hiring. So if you're looking for a job, good working conditions, good place to go, wonderful restaurant, maybe even eat there sometimes, have their lunch and whatever,
There's always
So,
a perk, good
It's
food.
always a perk, and that is some really good food. And be sure to order those scallops at least once, because I'm a slow eater, so usually I've eaten about half of them, then I put them in a bag and I got another meal.
Yeah. They reheat pretty good too.
Well, I usually eat them cold.
Do you?
I'm a slow eater, and I'm used to eating cold food. When I was on a track trip back when I was a kid, Coach used to make me order first because I was always the slowest one of them all. Okay, one of the things that I like about Sinbad's, one of the many things I like about Sinbad's, is that you have pictures on display. You have pictures on display. And of course, you're also displaying my ad for my other show, WCHB AM 1340, and I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to give you an opportunity to advertise your restaurant.
Thank you,
but
John.
and you're welcome. But you really don't need it. I mean, you didn't need to come on this show because your restaurant is crowded all the time. I mean,
well, we're not crowded all the time.
Well, most of the time.
But yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah,
Things are going pretty good.
Yeah, but you're going to get a tape of this show, and you can use it any way you want.
Well, thank you.
So, although this is one guy, folks, has got such a good restaurant. Even given the COVID and the trouble that we've had, he stayed open just a very, very brief time that he wasn't open. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of restaurants that are folding, but this is a restaurant that is thriving, and it's thriving for a reason. The reason it's thriving is that it has some of the best food in the city, and everything. I mean, not just seafood, but everything, right?
Yeah. We really buy the best. I mean, anything from our steaks to our seafood. Well, yeah, we don't try to cut any corners.
Yeah, that's very, very obvious when you sit down to dine. Let me tell you, that's why I love to go to this restaurant.
Funny story. I was doing research when he said we were going to interview you, and I was scrolling through some of the pictures, and I saw pictures of my friends, which they didn't invite me, but they were at Sinbad's, and I called my friend and said, why didn't you tell me? She's like, I never saw that picture. I didn't know that was out there. Yeah, well, you didn't invite me to lunch either. So that's funny. I found she had an interview in the Detroit News, and that's one of the pictures that I found. So I busted them having lunch without me.
No.
You used to have a picture in there of when I was on the cover of the Metro Times, but somebody stole that picture.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
One of your fans.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it was a
Okay.
fan or if it was an enemy. Somebody took that picture, and they actually did it in a restaurant in Rochester too. At that time, I had been the deputy superintendent in Rochester, and I was bringing a lot of minority principals and directors. There were some folks in the city who didn't particularly care for me doing that, who were a little bit, more than a little bit biased, that was who I was dealing with at that time. But go ahead.
You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
And we are interviewing Mark Blank, the proprietor of Sinbad's Restaurant on the east side of Detroit. One of the very, very best restaurants in the state. And before I forget, I've got to mention this too. Detroit Public Schools Community District Assistant Superintendent Tyrone Winfrey asked me to read this announcement. And what Tyrone Winfrey says is, let's get ready as we proceed in the transformation of the Detroit Public Schools Community District. That's the school district right here. Detroit Public Schools Community District that educated me. And as we proceed in that transformation, we are asking Detroit Public Schools alumni to come home to DPSCD late in the merry month of May. That's this month right here. Today's May the 11th. Detroit Public Schools Community District, in partnership with the Detroit Public Schools Foundation, will host an extensive series of events entitled the Come Home Alumni Hall of Fame Gala and Alumni Weekend. And that's going to be later in the month, and I'm going to be telling you more about this both on WJZZ and WCHB. And I was matter of fact, we're talking about the schools. Let me tell you what I was doing last night. I was at the school board meeting, And I asked the school board, number one, I asked them to name a school for Finney High School, because they've taken the Finney name off of East English Village, off of that property where the Finney family were rowing slaves across the river in the 19th century before the Civil War. So that's a community landmark that needs to be recognized. Matter of fact, it was Seymour Finney who met with John Brown, the abolitionist John Brown, and the abolitionist Frederick Douglass right here in the city of Detroit. So that's one of the things that I asked the school board to do last night. And I also commended them for changing the name of Northwestern High School back to Northwestern High School, because that's one of the two schools that I attended before I got kicked out in 1952 and sent to live with my father and finished at Denby. But anyway, the third thing that I asked them has a relevance to Sinbad's restaurant, because the third thing that I asked them was this. I said to them, I want you to rename Cass Technical High School, because Cass Technical High School was named after Lewis Cass, who had a racist background in the 19th century. So that school should never have been named Cass Technical High School, although I know that a lot of alumni would disagree with me. But I would like to see that school named the William Joseph Robinson Technical High School. Will Robinson,
Yes.
who used to eat in Sinbad's all the time. I used to run into him at Sinbad's all the time, and I had the honor of co-coaching with him back in the 1960s at Pershing High School. But I met him a lot earlier than that. Will Robinson was the one who really got me down to Wayne State on a track scholarship. When I was a junior at Denby High School, I won 100-220 in long jump, and he said, hey, you got to go down and run for David L. Holmes. And I said, well, I can't, I'm a junior. He said, well, talk to me again your senior year. That was Will Robinson, who he mentored so many young men.
He sure did.
And Will Robinson loved Sinbad's restaurant. Now, Will Robinson was the first African-American coach, I believe, in the city of Detroit. During the time of the 1943 riot, they brought him from Chicago to coach Old Miller High School, which he then developed immediately in the Champions. Along with Leroy Dews, who coached the track program, but I think Will helped Leroy. And I'm giving some background, on Will, because I loved that guy.
Yeah,
He
was great.
He was my mentor. I wrote his biography. I think you guys
Yes.
have a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
But back to Sinbad's restaurant. But this was one digression that I had to make. And I do like that you have pictures on display, and you got that picture of you and Will
Yeah.
right up there. And every time I look at it, I smile.
Yeah. Great.
My man, Will Robinson. Because he was one of my major mentors, and he felt that Sinbad's is the finest restaurant in the city. I don't think he ever ate anywhere else, to tell you the truth.
We had a special table for him.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and Jan would come in with him, and Spencer Haywood would come and visit him once in a while. I remember that.
Interesting that you would mention Spencer Haywood, because Spencer Haywood was my high jumper and shot putter.
Was he?
Oh yeah, I'm still in touch with Spencer.
Yeah.
And Spencer, he could high jump about 6'2", 6'3", but what he really could do was he could throw that shot. He threw it like a baseball in his great big hand. He would take the shot put, throw it about 51 feet, and Will at one time regarded Spencer Haywood as probably the best basketball player in the world. He was. When he was 19 years old, he's on the Olympic basketball team, and they won the gold medal. That was 1968. And Will flew to Mexico City to talk to the team, because there was a lot of rebellion among black athletes. That was the time that Tommy Smith and John Carlos did the salute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. But Spencer was. He was one incredible basketball player, and he wrote a book, Spencer Haywood, The Rise, the Fall, the Recovery. I don't know if you ever saw that book, but Spencer had a cocaine problem, and in fact I think he still goes to a 12-step program every day. I can remember he visited me when I was deputy superintendent out in Rochester. He came out and visited me. I took a picture of him with my daughter. He said, "Oh, can't stay for dinner. Got to go to my 12-step program." That cocaine is a devilish drug. But anyway,
All the drugs are.
do you have anything that you want to ask?
I just want to know, like, you're down there. It's so, you're on the water. You know, do you feel great going to work down there every day?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And back in '89, we added the upstairs. So at that time, I'd been running the place now for about 4 or 5 years. But my uncle and we were always thinking about doing something upstairs. We'll put a little deck or something like that. And then I kind of had a plan drawn up, and my Uncle Van was great. He was really good with me after I lost my dad. And he looked at the plan, he goes, Mark, you don't need that big outdoor deck. He goes, the weather in Michigan isn't always so good all the time. So he told me, he goes, expand this. So I did what he said, and we built the upstairs. So we put in elevators, a dumbwaiter, a kitchen upstairs, and so now we have a banquet facility upstairs, and we call it the Sohar Room, named after Sinbad's ship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so so we can do parties and banquets and functions, and we have a nice room that you can comfortably sit about 130, 140 people up there.
Right.
There's a little dance floor, there's bathrooms, there's a bar, and then there's an outdoor patio that seats about 40. So. Yeah, it gives you a little better view because you can overlook the river and the marina, and so we did that back in '89. In our first summer of '80, we would have bands playing, and we actually had that operating as a restaurant also, and we did that all up until about 2007, maybe, and then we kind of went more into just banquets because 2008 things got a little tough in the country here. But now we do special events and private parties upstairs.
Well, I know that 16 years ago, my second wife, Gina Telford, threw me a 70th birthday party up there.
All right.
And that was something. I mean, that place was so packed. I think it's a good thing they didn't call it fire marshal. We had so many folks up there. That was. I didn't even want it either. I didn't like the numbers 70, and now here I'm 86, but it's just a number. But to me, it wasn't a number then. Oh my God, I'm turning 70. I don't want to have a 70th birthday party.
Well, the alternative is not turning
you're
anything.
right.
So.
Yeah. And she insisted. And matter of fact, she showed so much class. She invited my first wife and a bunch of old girlfriends and. It was quite a memorable moment. I remember I didn't get to eat some of that great food because I was, talking to people the whole time. But anyway, there's another thing that I wanted to ask you about. That mermaid that you got leading up to the steps. That's a magnificent piece of statuary. How and where did you guys acquire that?
All right, my wife got that for me. I think what was it, my 60th birthday? Yeah, I think when I turned 60, and I can't remember the name of the gentleman that carved that wood right now. I'm sorry to say, but the mermaid and that's Sinbad. So. The artwork going way back to my uncle and my father, the mermaid and Sinbad was on the placemats, and also on the menu.
Yeah.
So it's something they came up with. Just to help promote the restaurant. So we got some pictures over to this gentleman, and he carved that up for us and painted it up, and we placed it out in front of the restaurant.
It's beautiful. That's a magnificent piece of statuary.
Yes.
It really is.
Thank you.
And let's see, what else do we have to do here? I've got to make sure I do everything I'm supposed to do. Do you have any questions to ask, Mark?
So I think I saw pictures of your son. Does he have formal training as a chef, or?
Actually, he would be more like a general manager. But I tell you, he started off in the basement. Doing prep work, and he helps out in the kitchen.
Yes.
And so he really can help all over the place. He's been a server, he's been a bartender, and he's really good with the computers. and with the orders coming online.
Most young folks are.
Oh, no kidding, better
Yeah.
than me.
Yeah,
so,
better than
yeah,
me,
So,
believe
he's been gone for a week, and I'm glad he's coming home today.
You're going home today.
So,
Okay.
is that something that he wanted to do, or again, like I asked
Yeah.
you, did they
Well,
tell you to go in there and do
you know,
this, or?
Things just happen. I think it worked out that he came and started working at Sinbad's, and I'm glad he's there because I really need him there. And then I have 2 other kids. So I have my son Brian. He's an engineer, and he works in cybersecurity.
Mhm.
And then I have a daughter who is working in Tokyo.
Oh,
Yeah, so she went to school at Hope, and her junior
Hope
year,
College?
Hope College.
yeah.
And then she went to study at Waseda University in Tokyo for a year,
That's
her
amazing.
junior year. And then when she came back, she finished her senior year, and then she goes, "Dad, I'd really like to get more fluent in Japanese." And I go, "Oh gosh."
Back to Japan.
So she went back to Japan, and we're hoping to see her back here in Detroit in September.
Where'd she go to high school?
She went to Troy High.
Troy High
Troy
School.
High.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where Sunanda went,
Mhm.
who is my co-host on this show. She
Yeah.
went to Troy High.
Yeah.
She's East Indian extraction, but she grew up in the United States. Okay. Tell our listeners again how you can be contacted. I think that it's important that we say that
Yeah.
repetitively.
Well, you can always call the restaurant, and it's 313-822-8000. If you just want to talk to somebody on the floor and have someone answer the phone, push 1. If you want to get to the office, you push 2, and sometimes you answer, you'll leave a message there. Our website is, again, sinbads.com, SINDBADS.com.
SINDBADS.com, Sinbad's website. And we're talking to Mark Blank, the proprietor of Sinbad's. Mark, is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about
Well,
Sinbad's?
It's a pleasure being in Detroit as long as we have been. There's so many loyal customers that return to Sinbad's. Some of them don't even need menus. They just know what they're coming in for. We have a bunch of clientele that I'm still missing a little bit from Windsor.
Oh, really?
Because we had quite
Getting across the bridge?
I think it's just starting
Right.
to, I'm starting to
back.
see a few of the old customers from Canada coming back.
Yeah.
We're really blessed. We're in southeast Michigan, plus we have Windsor, and and people drive to Sinbad's. It's somewhat of a destination for a lot of these people. So I can't. I just appreciate them making the drive. Sometimes even half hours or even more to come to the restaurant. So it's great. It's great to have them, and I surely appreciate them all.
And I'm the poet in residence for the Detroit Public Schools. I go around to the high schools and read my poetry, but I always like to have a class. I'm a born teacher. I love to teach, and I've been an administrator at all levels in schools, but what I really love to do is have a class in front of me. And right now I have some young men in an all boys school. That's the Frederick Douglass Academy over on West Warren. And the other day I brought Natalie Vaughn in, who is an expert in real estate, to tell my young men, because they're 11th graders. They're all 16 or 17 years old. And I had her tell them how to get into the real estate business. Would you or your son ever be interested in coming and talking to my kids?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
I could set that up, and then maybe that would take them to
Yeah.
Sinbad's too one of these
Yeah.
days. Oh, go ahead.
They'll be learning the restaurant business firsthand. That's
Yeah, they would be doing that,
Right.
right?
You're
Yeah.
watching WJZZ Cool TV, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like us, follow us, share us, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Also, we've got a live productions present One Night in Detroit, July 9th, that's a Saturday, at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center, 15801 Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Tickets are available at eventbrite.com. That's featuring Paul Taylor and Jeff Kashiwa at 8 p.m. and the doors open at 7:30. Also, we have the Senior Expo and Health Fair, which is a free event, and it says Wellness Rocks, Saturday, August 27th at 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Ernest T. Ford Recreation Center, 10 Pitkin Street in Highland Park, Michigan.
And I wanted also to mention that there's a gentleman named Baker who lost all of his belongings, his wallet, his identification in an apartment fire. And he happened to see, I don't know which of my publications, I don't know if it was the Detroit Native Sun or the Downtown Detroit Monitor, but anyway, he found my phone number in a state of desperation, and he called me. His name is Isidore Baker. He's a senior citizen, and he told me what his situation is. There was someone in St. Clair Shores. There was a group, Gail, I can't remember her name. I think I wrote it down here somewhere. The Motor City Mitten Group. It's a mission. Gail Marlowe, I just remembered her last name. She helped him find a place, but they're talking now about putting him out of there. They're talking about putting him out of. He's going to soup kitchens, this guy, and so he called me. One of the two things he rescued was his cell phone and a plug. Thank God that he kept those two things. But when he goes to the soup kitchen, he doesn't take his cell phone with him because he's afraid somebody will steal it. He's an old guy, you know. But his name is Isidore Baker, and his number is 248-445-9347. And this show today, I'm going to send it again to the president of the Detroit City Council. That's Mary Sheffield, a very good lady, by the way, and because I've already sent it to her, and one of her workers in her program, Latosha Logan, told me that she was going to reach out to Mr. Baker and help him. But this has been a couple of weeks now, and she has not done so, and I'm worried that he's going to get put out of there. The next step is I'm going to be contacting the mayor, because somebody's got to help this guy. You know, we've got to get him into a social security office, you know, so he can get his. He doesn't even have. I mean, he has no money. He's a non-person right now. So anyone who wants to help Isidore Baker, call him at 248-445-9347, because I'm trying very hard to get this guy back on his feet again. So please do that. By all means, help Isidore Baker. Is there anything else you want to tell us about Sinbad's, Mark?
Let me think. Well, you know, there was a story. Go back to when my father and uncle started the business. Now, they had some, you know, they're Belgians, and they had some different names. So my uncle was Hilaire Van Hollenbeck, and my dad was Prudent Octof Blanky. So that is his name, right?
Okay.
So he looked pretty young when he started back in '49. So he's behind the bar. This is how the story goes. That he's behind the bar, and there was a elderly lady at the bar having a drink, and she goes, "Sonny, what's your name?" And he goes, "Prudent." She looks up at him. She goes, "That's no name for a bar owner. I'm going to call you Buster." And that's it. And that's how he got his nickname. So, and then my Uncle Van, the easy one was Van. So it was Buster and Van is how Sinbad started out with my dad and my uncle.
That's why you guys make such good muscles.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Well, the Belgians.
Yeah, Belgians.
Yeah.
That's that restaurant over on
Cajou Cafe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I shouldn't be advertising them though because they're not paying me, but they have good mussels too. But your mussels are as good or better than theirs. I mean,
Thank you.
everything you got there is as good or better than any other restaurant. And while I'm at it, since we still have just a little bit of time, I want to mention that Mayor Duggan, who I ran against actually back in 2013, there were many of us running. He's become a friend, and he announced at his latest State of the City address that they're going to put $12.6 million into a domed stadium at Chandler Park.
Wow.
$12.6 million. So, I went and talked to a group in the fourth district, that District 4 Community Advisory Council. They put me on their agenda. I was their guest speaker, and I said to them, this has been a while back though, I said to them, I want you to put a 200-meter competitive track inside that building, along with grandstands that can seat a whole bunch of people, so that we can run track meets in there
That'd be
for
great.
Detroit Public Schools, for Wayne State University, for post-university competition, for age group competition, little boys and girls. And because, I ran at Wayne State on a balcony, 80-yard track. If you took a turn too fast, you'd go out a window, And we had a lot of fast guys because in those days we had a relay team that won the Penn relays, the Ohio relays, all over the Midwest. We were beating Michigan and Michigan State. I don't know how we did it on it came off that little track. But I want to see that. My old coach, David L. Holmes, who, by the way, liked Sinbad's restaurant, so this restaurant's been around quite a while. David L. Holmes, he's a Hall of Fame coach, David L. Holmes. He was coached at Wayne State from 1917 to 1958 and looking for a facility like this for all those 4 decades, and it never happened. But now we've got this opportunity to get this facility built, and so Mark, maybe you should call the mayor. You got any?
Yeah.
You got any?
He comes in to eat quite a bit, so I'll put a couple words in his ear and produce some class athletes again.
Yeah.
And if you give them the place to do it.
Detroit has produced so many great track athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and Wayne State itself, had Lorenzo Wright, had all kinds of world-ranked, nationally ranked. I was just one of them. I mean, there have been about 15 come out of Wayne State, despite the lack of facilities.
Okay, well, you guys, you have anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Well, thank you for allowing us to be here and talk about Sinbad's, and it's been a real pleasure. Thank you, John. Thank you, Shar. I sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you here, and I'm glad that you're advertising my WCHB show.
Yeah,
with
we'll
that.
keep it up.
Every time they go out of your restaurant, they see that right on that ledge,
Good.
So that's cool, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Something else you want to say?
Probably a lot of things I want to say, but I think we've kind of run out of time.
Well, we're getting there. So, I've enjoyed meeting you. It's my first time meeting you. The history from your restaurant, I really enjoyed reading it and finding out. And you guys have been around for a long time, and it shows. COVID did hurt some people, but bad service hurt people too, and they're using COVID as an excuse, and you're giving good service despite of the situation. And I think that's why you were staying around.
Thank you, Charlotte.
So that's pretty much going to do it for us today. You sure you don't have anything else to say?
Well, let me say this. Don't be a dummy who hesitated. Hasten to get yourself vaccinated.
Okay.
We need immunity in our community. Since I'm the poet in residence, I got to do a poem, right?
Good.
This actually is supposed to be a poetry show, but I never do my poetry. I'm always interviewing people. But
All right, we're headed out.
You've been listening to the John Telford Detroit Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Charlotte Jones on WJZZ Detroit Internet Television